how's it going? Shane Baumgartner here from the adventuringmusician.com. And today I want to talk about what guitar to buy for your young child, student, or a complete beginner. This could be an overwhelming topic as there are hundreds, if not thousands, of options to choose from when looking for a guitar. If you know nothing about it, it can really be overwhelming. So the key things when you're looking for a guitar for a beginner, or especially a young kid, is intonation, construction materials, tuning stability, playability, affordability, sizing, and tone. So let's take a minute and go through each of these things one at a time, and I'll give a quick explanation, and then I'll get around to my recommendation for a guitar. Okay, first up is intonation. By intonation, it just means how well does the guitar stay true to its notes as you travel up the neck. At the bottom, when you're tuned to 440, which is the standard tuning, it will be perfectly in tune. But as you play notes further up the neck, if the intonation's out, the notes will become flat or sharp, depending on which way the intonation goes. Another way to demonstrate that might be if you play a chord down low, everything sounds nice and in tune. When you get up high, it would be a little out or funky sounding, and it's just kind of obvious if the guitar is not intonated well. Another way you can test this is to put a capo on the guitar. And generally speaking, the further up you capo the neck, the higher the chance that you'll notice the intonation is out if it's not right on the money. Now, this is a Martin. This is an expensive guitar, so it does really, really well with intonation no matter where you are on the neck. And even it might be just a hair out, but it's because I'm slightly out of tune. So that's one thing to ask about, or to have someone who really knows check for you when you're looking at a guitar. Okay, next up is construction materials. What's the guitar made of? You know, there's a lot of kinds of wood. More expensive guitars are going to be made with more expensive types of wood, maybe something imported from another country, cocobolo, even some of your rosewoods and exotics, things like that. Now, when you buy a cheap guitar, a lot of times there's laminate in the construction. The top will be made of laminate, which is fine for a cheap guitar for a beginner. Not something you'd want if you're a professional. It really just affects the tone, and which again is not a huge deal if you're a beginner and you're just starting out. If you play a laminate guitar well, it's still going to sound good. So that's just something to ask about and check when you're shopping around. All wood construction is always the best, so keep that in mind. Tuning stability. How well does the guitar stay in tune? If you set it down for 5 minutes, if the temperature changes in the room, if you walk outside with it, if somebody kicks it or knocks it over, a really well-made guitar is going to stay really well in tune most of the time. And you know, this guitar is a Martin D28. I can leave it hanging on the wall for 2 weeks and pick it up, and it's still pretty much right on the money. Speaking of staying in tune, get yourself one of these tuners. It's just a little clip-on tuner. I'll put a link on the page for where you can find them. They go from anywhere from $10, $20 for the lower model up to like 60 or 70 if you want a lot more features. Honestly, you don't need all that. Just any old clip-on tuner will do the job you need it to do, which is to get the guitar in tune quickly and easily. So, especially when you're a beginner, you want the guitar to be in tune, because if it's not, even if you're playing the notes correctly, it's going to sound like crap. Don't do that. Tune your guitar every time before you play it, and this is a quick and easy way to learn how to tune your guitar. Playability. How easy is the guitar to play? How hard is the guitar to play? In general, acoustic guitars are a little tougher for beginners to play than electrics. The strings are bigger, thicker. They're harder to push down, kind of tough on new fingers when you're starting out. A guitar that picks up and is fairly easy to push the strings down is really what you're looking for, especially with kids. Their hands are small, their fingers are small. You don't want them to get frustrated because they can't push a single string down and make a note. Speaking of playability, another thing I love to recommend to beginning students, especially kids, is to get yourself a capo. This is device that goes on the neck, presses all the strings down wherever you place it on the neck. So if you put it anywhere on the neck, it presses all the strings down and raises the tone to whatever fret you place it on. The reason for recommending that is by pressing the strings down, it automatically increases the playability of most guitars. You know, if the action is high, which is what we call the distance from the wood of the neck to the string height, it can be really tough for a beginner to make a chord or really play anything. So another tip, even if you have a good playable guitar, get a Capo. You can get one for like 20 bucks. This is a Kaiser. I'll put a link to this on the page as well. It's my favorite, quick and easy to take on and off. And it also makes guitar sound kind of harp-like when you put it on high at the neck, which is just fun to play around with as well. Affordability. For many people, this is probably the biggest deal when looking for a guitar, especially for a student, someone you're not sure is going to be playing forever. I always recommend buy the most expensive guitar you can afford. Why? Even if they don't keep playing it, the guitar is going to hold its value. You can resell it, get most of your money back. And the other thing is, the more expensive guitar is, it tends to be a more pleasant playing experience as well. So always go with what you can afford. But if you can't afford much, that's why I'm here. I have a recommendation for that today as well. Sizing. How big is the guitar? This is a standard dreadnought size guitar. Definitely a pretty big instrument to wrap your hands and your body around. I'm not a big guy, so this is still comfortable for me. But for little kids, I definitely recommend getting a smaller size guitar, either a parlor guitar, which is really a full-size guitar built on a kind of a smaller body style. They're not as loud as a full-size guitar, but they have their own unique sound. A lot of people love them. I love them. There's also other options in sizing. You can get a 7/8 size guitar, which means it's 7/8 the size of a standard, or a 3/4 size, which is more in your travel size guitars. 3/4 size, in my opinion, are great for kids. There's a good balance between sizing, playability, volume, and kids can reach everything on the neck. Their hands can get all the way across, play all the notes they need to play. So great option for kids is a 3/4 size travel guitar. Last but not least, tone. Tone is subjective. Everyone likes different types of things. I like a full-bodied, projected, very loud type of guitar tone with my acoustic guitars. Unfortunately, what also goes with that is expense. The louder it is, the more full it sounds, usually the more money it costs, and to my downfall. Anyway, all guitars have their own unique kind of tones. Smaller guitars tend to have more of a high end or a mid-rangey sound, which, they're all appropriate for different situations. Again, for a beginner, it's not super important. It's not something you're really going to have the ear for until you progress as a player. And so it's a factor when buying a guitar, but I don't rate that as super high on the list of importance for beginning students. Okay, my recommendation for a child or beginner guitarist guitar is the Luna Safari series guitars. This is the Supreme model. This one goes for about $330. I bought this for myself just so I could have something to travel around with. Still pretty inexpensive as acoustic guitars go. It's all wood construction. The intonation is fairly solid. It's got a decent enough volume to it. It seems to be pretty durable. I've had it for years, and given the price, I'm not afraid to take this thing on an airplane, up in the mountains, around a campfire. If it gets smashed or something, I might be a little sad, but it's not going to ruin my life. So this is a great option. As far as tuning goes, it stays in tune pretty well. I do have to tweak it now and then, but that's normal with any guitar. It's not quite as stable as my $2,000 guitar, but what do you expect? You get what you pay for. Playability. This thing plays really well. The strings are easy to push down. I'm really impressed with it for the price on the playability factor with this guitar. Overall, this is a a real solid guitar for $330. I can easily recommend this if you want to spend a little more. Now, if you just want to spend the bottom dollar, take a look at the Luna Safari Muse model. Goes for $170. Looks almost identical to this. There's laminate in the top, which is, part of how they saved on money. Plays identical, sounds similar. Almost every other factor is the same as this guitar, but for about half the price. You really can't go wrong with that guitar for a kid. They can take a lot of abuse, and I think this is a great option for someone who just wants to get their child an instrument to find out if they're going to stick with it or not. And the last option is the Luna Safari Bamboo model. I haven't actually played one of these guitars. It's $180, $10 more than the Muse, but obviously the Bamboo, you have a superior construction material than a laminate. Based on my experience with all of these guitars, I don't think you could go wrong with that option either. By the way, I'm not endorsed by Luna or anybody for that matter. I wish I was. I don't get anything for saying any of this. This is just something I discovered by accident. I picked up somebody I know had one of these. I picked it up, played it. I was really impressed. I wanted to own a travel guitar, something I could drag around and not have to worry about damaging my expensive guitars. So I kind of fell in love with the Lunas, and that's why I recommend them. All right, that's it for today. If you like this video, like it, subscribe to my page. Hope to see you back again, and until then, have a good day.